The time is now 6:31, and the October 19th, 2023 meeting of the Development Review Board for the City of Winooski has been called to order. The DRB is a quasi-judicial volunteer resident board that upholds standards and procedures as defined in the Winooski zoning ordinance. We review and make decisions on subdivisions, site plans, conditional uses, variances, and appeals of the zoning administrator's determinations. We have authority through Vermont state statute and ensure due process, protect the rights of applicants and the rights of the public to participate in proposals for land development within the city. Appeals of decisions made by this board are heard by the Vermont Superior Court Environmental Division and the Vermont Supreme Court. My name is Matt Basowitz. I'm the chair of the DRB. Harlan Miller is not present. He is our vice chair. Elsie Goodrich is our secretary. And our current members are Aaron Guyette, David Weisberger, Jordan Matt, and Emily Morse. Votes and recommendations are always cast in closed deliberative session that will take place as soon after the hearing takes place as possible. We will ask anyone participating in tonight's hearings to swear or affirm that all testimony is entirely the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury. We will ask you to say, "I affirm," and raise your right hand before testifying. Online Zoom participants will be asked to testify after all in-person testimony is complete, if we have anybody online. First up on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment. Vermont state statute allows for public comment at every public meeting. If you have something that you'd like to discuss that is not already on our current agenda, this is your opportunity.
Sorry, Matt, first the changes to the agenda, if there's any.
Skip that part.
That's okay.
Well, we'll do public comment now, and then we'll make a change to the agenda, asking if there are changes to be made to the agenda. So hearing no public comment, next up, we'll ask anybody that would like to make a change to the agenda as currently proposed. We will stick with the current agenda. Next up is to approve previous meetings minutes, and we have to go all the way back to July for that one. And I did flip through them. I believe I was here for that meeting. I didn't see anything that needed to be changed. Did anybody else? I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Motioned and seconded. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
And I believe that carried unanimously.
I'm abstaining.
Okay. Elsie abstains. So the first substantive item on our current agenda is a public hearing on a conditional use request for 67 Union Street, and we will ask the applicant to please step forward.
Matt, I think procedurally, I don't know if we've done this consistently in the past, but we could have a motion to open the hearing. That way we formally have the hearing open, and then we can formally close it at the end of all of the hearings. So
okay.
Yeah, so I think we should be able to open one hearing for all three collectively, just a matter of having the formal action to open the hearing so we can take testimony on the record.
Oh, okay, perfect. So we will need a motion to open the hearings, plural.
I make a motion to open the hearings, plural.
I'll second.
Motioned and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, we are in our hearing. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. We ask that you do swear that you are speaking the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I am
Thank you so much. Your name?
Don Walsh. I'm representing the owner of 67 Union Street.
So, Matt, I'd like to say a few words quick, if I may,
Definitely.
before we take testimony from Mr. Welch. First of all, I believe, Emily, you need to recuse yourself from this matter. So, Emily will not be participating. If I could ask you to leave the room,
Sure.
that way there's no potential conflict or impropriety, perceived or real, in this matter.
I have a very expressive face.
So while Emily's stepping out of the room, I will just give a few overview remarks on this application. This is coming before you tonight as a conditional use request. The reason this is coming before you as a conditional use request is because the existing building at 67 Union Street is a pre-existing non-conforming structure. It exceeds the maximum number of units that we permit on any one lot in the city. but as such, it can undergo changes and modifications with approval from you all through this conditional use process. So the applicant tonight is seeking to convert existing space inside the building to residential space from office space. I believe it was previously residential
Yes.
at one time, was converted to office, and now they're looking to convert it back. So that's a little bit of background on why this is before you tonight. There are no other changes are being proposed to the exterior of the building, or no changes are being proposed to the exterior, just the interior modifications to that existing space. And Don, I've got the plans on my computer to share for reference.
So just for clarity, are we looking to grant a variance in this case? Or?
No, this would just be a conditional use approval to allow
Okay.
for the dwellings to be reestablished.
Okay, great. So Don, if you can walk us through the project and the plans, that would be wonderful.
So there's roughly 2,000 square feet right now of existing office space that the owners would like to convert back into 2 residential living units, 2 two-bedroom units. Really, the only change to the building is modifying the windows on the exterior to the exterior of the building. There are new walls being proposed in the interior. Parking should actually improve traffic and that sort of thing. I think there were 10 employees there previously. Figuring 10 cars a day, most likely will be fewer than that if approval is granted to convert them back into residential units.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not much change to the overall building.
Is this all on the first floor?
Yep, it's all on the first floor.
And would the units be rented, or are they condos for sale, or how does that work?
They would be for sale. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that I know that most of the units in the building are owner occupied, and I believe that there's I don't know, 5 or something like that could be rented at any one time. Could be rented, not be owner occupied. So
Okay.
if the owners chose to not sell them, then they'd have to. I think there's a waiting list if you want to rent the units. So.
Okay. And this is more just out of my curiosity, were the offices being used by staff for the facility, or were they being rented to separate companies?
The owners of the space had their offices there.
Okay.
The offices relocated.
Okay. Great. Any other questions?
The building was built when, do you know?
I don't know.
It's not on the historic register. I think it's,
It is, I think, on the
It
historic
is?
register.
I think I included that in here somewhere.
I think there's something historic about it.
I'll ask Eric to flip to the elevations in a second, but I didn't notice whether that was the existing or proposed elevations.
I think they're both there, but probably proposed.
Because the windows don't look, it'd be on the top, it would be the rightmost lower set
Right in the middle,
in the middle.
right there, on the lower.
Uh,
See how nicely it blends in with the existing?
Yes.
So so that's 1, 2, 2 blank. So really, in some ways, it's returning back to probably what were windows. So we're above is 1, 2 blank, 2, and we're converting it into 3 in the middle, and then 1 on each end on the north and south side.
1938 is when this was constructed. I don't believe it is on the register. Well, let me rephrase. If it is, there's currently no local register, so we've no mechanism to regulate if it was.
Right. I mean, if it was, that's not really our purview. It would have to go through someone else. Right,
Correct.
for the changes.
Correct.
That exterior.
Sorry, I didn't realize that the windows were gonna be that dramatic. I was just pulling up the Google Street View. What is currently there, or maybe I'm looking from the wrong angle, appears to match everything else. I'm curious to see what's actually changing with the windows.
Where there are windows infilled, we're putting windows in.
Okay, maybe I'm on the wrong side of the
If
building.
you go back to the elevation. So right in the middle, or just to the left of the doors, right there.
Yeah.
If you look up, you can see, what's right there, there's two windows to one side, and then right in the middle, right there, those are window infills.
Okay,
And then right below it are two windows.
okay.
So I don't think there's anything in the conditional use that would allow us to comment on the appearance, is that right? Eric?
I don't believe there is, no.
I mean, I would encourage you to, I assume you're gonna be using compatible, it's not gonna be like some vinyl inserts in there.
No, I think so the condo board, the condominium board has already approved the change. And I know that they have collectively been looking to upgrade their windows, and they are looking at decent, so the windows would have to match, they have to be green, that all has to be approved by the condo board too, so.
Understood.
Are there any other questions from the board? For Don?
So, sorry, what's the total number of units is
I wanna s-
19, and it will be 21, or,
Yeah.
yeah?
And considering there had been housing there before, I'm assuming that the water and sewer and all of those pieces of infrastructure are in place and ready to go?
Yeah, the owners, I guess, Manira could speak probably more clearly to this, the owners, requested and received sewer and water allocation, but I guess they asked so long ago that the allocation expired, so we'll have to re-ask, I guess. But initially, the city said no problem.
Yeah, the city has plenty of reserve capacity in water and wastewater to serve the property. What we would do is look at, if we have the, depending on how the property is metered, we would look at what the office use was using for water and wastewater, and then assign a credit for any future allocation based on the number of bedrooms and the design capacity. So it's possible they wouldn't need any additional allocation, depending on what was being used previously. So but in any event, the city has plenty of reserve capacity to serve the water and wastewater needs for the additional units.
Okay,
And there's a homeowners association for this, and these would become, Part of that?
Yeah.
so those documents already exist?
Say that again.
That legal structure already exists?
Yeah, there's a condo board, so,
Yep. Okay.
that kind of oversees.
Okay.
They needed to approve the conversion before we could come to you with this.
Well, I think it's a good project.
yeah, no, I agree. Thank you, Don, I appreciate it. I don't think we have any other questions, but we'll invite anybody else to come, stay close. If anybody else would like to speak on this project, please do. And we will ask that you respond to that if you'd like to,
For sure.
if anybody wants to.
Questions?
So, thank you, we may call you back.
You want?
Yeah.
Thank you. Will it be, the questions right now or later?
Right now,
Okay.
yeah. So we'd like to invite anybody here that would like to speak, either for or against this modification, this project, to please come forward now, or hit the little raise hand button on the Zoom.
Yeah, there's actually 2 people online now, so.
Okay,
Yeah, for the folks online, if you would like to speak on this matter, you can use the raise hand feature or the chat. Otherwise, you can stay tuned till the matter that you're here for.
And hearing nothing and seeing nothing, I believe it's safe to move on. Thank you so much, Don. We will probably go break into deliberative session, my guess is tonight, and we'll be able to
So,
get a response.
sorry, before Don leaves, I just want to, so I have the exhibit list for this matter. It includes exhibits A through J that will be included in the record. These will be these will be included in the decision as well, and referenced in the decision, so I'm gonna be providing a copy to Mr. Welch for his records as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Take care.
And, Emily, you can come back in.
Emily, you missed a hotly contested one.
Yeah, well, you're late.
Our second of 3 hearings tonight is a public hearing on a conditional use request for 133 Elm Street. I
Yep.
will invite the applicant to.
And I believe Elsie is gonna have to recuse herself from this matter.
Okay.
While Elsie is stepping out of the room, I'll just give a brief introduction here. So this is a conditional use request to establish what we list as a commercial recreation and entertainment facility. That's what the city's land use table specifically considers what the use that is being proposed. Basically, it's a semi-private gym training facility. I'll let the applicants provide more detail on what it actually is. They're looking at using existing space in the building at 133 Elm Street. It's the old Riverworks carpet factory, goes by many different names, about 100,000 square feet of space. They're looking at occupying about 1,700 square feet of that existing area. So no new construction, but our use table does list this as a conditional use, so that's why it's coming before you tonight.
Okay. Welcome. We ask that you do raise your right hand and affirm that everything you are going to testify is the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I affirm.
Awesome, thank you. And your names?
So I'm Gina Buchanan. I actually, Corey and I rent the space. It's our lease with Redstone. I own a Gonzo Kitchen and we're partnership as G Corp company.
Okay.
Corey Irish, I'm the owner of property. I rent out part of the space that isn't necessarily included in what he's doing, but I'll be the contractor that does the work inside to fit up the space.
Okay.
And I'm Antonio Federico Coppola. I'm the one who is renting the space from these two, looking to set up the facility that we've proposed.
Awesome. You said Antonio?
Yep, Antonio.
Okay.
I can spell it if you need me to.
No, it's just because I'm terrible with names. I need to write them down.
Tony also works.
Okay. Awesome. Well, could you please walk us through what your plans are?
Absolutely. So my business is called True Warrior Fitness or True Warrior Training. We are a training facility that we're looking to set up. We operate the Precy Speed School in the state of Vermont. So we hold the only license in the state to operate the Precy Speed School, which is a youth athletic development organization. It's been around for 32 years, coming up on 33 years. What we do is everything but the sports-specific side of things. So speed, strength, mobility for youth athletes, 5 and 25. But our main focus is 7 to 12. That's really where we like to take in a lot of athletes to do work. What we're looking to do is set up a semi-private facility. So this is not open to the public, it's by appointment only. We'll have classes, and my trainers and coaches will be able to take in private clients, but this is not going to be a huge cycle. Think Planet Fitness, not a similar model to that. It would be an enclosed by said appointment only.
Okay. And what do you picture happening in the facility as far as
Yeah,
fit up
absolutely.
and what do you need done there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a few different things here. Obviously the main entrance, which is at that top there, that's going to be our main entrance to come into the room. The room directly to the right of that, which is those two office sections, that room directly to the right is going to be just a half-cut wall. So it's going to get cut to 44 inches, which is just going to turn into the front desk area. So when you walk in the room, you'll be able to turn directly to your left, which would be somebody sitting at the front desk to be able to take appointments. There is attached pictures as well, so you can see the exact measurements, how that cut would look. Additionally, the other thing we are looking to do is remove the ceilings in that space. So it is set up, there's another picture as well to see kind of what the before and after would look like for those ceilings, which it would just be removing the ceilings and then raising the lighting, raising the sprinklers, fixing the HVAC system so that everything is set for a non-actual drop set ceiling. The additional is adding in rubber flooring. So we've got two different options that we're looking at. It's either 3/4 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch. That's just going to protect the concrete flooring. So when we are using strength conditioning equipment, anything like that, we have kind of that baseline flooring.
So no change to any of the walls other than cutting that
Nope.
one down?
Just that one cut for the front desk area.
And no
Okay.
change to any of the doors, the exiting doors?
Nope, no exit doors change.
Do you, I'm not sure how your programs operate. I don't know if you play music or if there's noise and whistling or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Any consideration to, I'm not sure who your neighbors would be on either side?
Us.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're probably fine then.
Yep. Yep. With it being, like I said, the semi-private, there isn't going to be a ton of like background music and things like that. The noise in the space would be a coach one-on-one with their private clients. Our classes and such would have music in the background, but we don't want music blaring because of what we're doing. We want kids to be able to hear us as we're coaching, giving cues, giving tactile feedback, and being able to work with them.
Okay. Any modifications to any air handling? Do you need extra air conditioning or dehumidification or anything like that?
Yep, so the HVAC will just get moved since it is set into the drop, excuse me, not mean to hit that, because it is set into the drop ceiling, so the only thing it's gonna use is gonna just get raised like it was in that picture there. So instead of the piping that is set into the drop ceiling, it's just gonna get put back on into the hard set of all the vents.
So the existing equipment will still be used as
It's still,
is,
it's
it's
still
just-
moved up.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
had
Just raised.
most recently we had the sprinklers, fire tech come by, because we're gonna be switching out the sprinkler system from being facing down to going upwards. So again, everything is gonna be still used in the facility.
Okay. Actually, that was my next question.
There you go,
Is-
see?
Thank you.
I've done this once or twice.
Okay. I think that, so I read up in the report, we're talking about traffic impact on the neighborhood and things like that. You're only expecting to do, what, 4 classes a day? Is that accurate?
Yep, about four classes, and not really a day, so it's usually after the 4 to 4:30 times period after.
Yeah.
Because kids are getting out of school, we don't run any classes from the morning on, it's all gonna be after school.
And it's hour-long classes?
Yep,
So once an hour, you're gonna have
a cycle in and out of.
a cycle of
So
12
kids-
cars.
And we'll have a few crossovers, because the classes we set up are either strength or speed or mobility. So we may have a few kids here and there that'll take a 2-hour, well, they'll stay for one and be able to stay for the next. With our model, since we do have a lot of youth athletes, a lot of them do carpool. There are parents that set up to make sure, hey, my little Jimmy and little Timmy can be coming to class at the same time. One parent will bring and drop off.
Are most of your students local to Winooski, or are they all over?
So we are, since we are the only one in Vermont, we are from Charlotte to St. Albans. We are in the process right now of working with the Winooski school system to be able to take in a lot of the Winooski school athletes, middle school and high school.
Okay. And as you see this growth, what do you, if we're talking 12 kids, 4 classes a day right now,
Yep.
what do you see 5 years from now?
So it depends. When we have the coaching structure, we would run simultaneous classes because we have the room in the facility to be able to do that. So we'd run a speed session and a strength session at the same time. Same thing, so it would be up to 8 classes, and that structure would just pretty much stay the same. We would just start to funnel kids in and out. With our structure, how it is set up, we work with athletes and they start to progress through the class structure. So a very baseline beginner is the best word for it, structure, and then as we work that athlete year in, year out, they start to get to the elite level, and so that's where the class structure breaks down. So first 2 hours will probably be more beginner, later 2 hours will be more advanced and elite, and so those athletes would walk through those structures, and eventually they work off into their own custom programming or private sessions. We also do work with schools where we'll go out and teach these classes at the school system, so that we mitigate kind of the huge flux into the facility, because we do have a lot of schools that we work with that aren't within a 30 to 25 minute drive. They're like 40 to 40, so we have to go work out with them. So we'll do contracts and things like that to be able to mitigate some of that.
Yeah, so 5 years from now, you picture maybe you'll possibly double the students that come in and out
I would
daily?
say, yeah, a safe bet is doubling kind of what we have set right now, but with the space that we have, it wouldn't be a triple or quadruple.
Okay. And we know that the parking there's
There's
tons of
ample
it.
parking.
And there is a picture
There's
attached as
ample
well.
parking over there,
3.
we can designate the parking spots. As far as traffic mitigation, The only thing that's next to us is Cabot and for their storage facility,
Mhm.
Fuji's. Their tractor trailers come in, during the morning hours, so by 3 o'clock they're done, so there's no impeding traffic. And
Okay.
all the other warehouse spaces are pretty much shut down at that time as well.
And,
Is Spirit still down there?
Spirit is still there, their lease is up on through February before renewal, so we don't know what's going on beyond that. But again, Spirit doesn't come in, and I mean, they have.
They don't have like a bunch of employees, right?
No,
Not really.
no. The only time that we've seen it was like 2,
Yeah.
and then whatever's inside.
Mhm.
okay.
I'm a little hazy about the division of the spaces between all of you. The red is what you'll be
The red
using,
is our proposed.
other than the office beside the door?
So
Should be in the red?
No, so the red area is proposed for the gym. Over to the right of the screen is where Encanto Kitchen is, which is my location. So that's where it is, that whole entire space. And then to the left, Corey Irish, so property has that front office when you're first coming in and the warehouse space. Yep, and then the warehouse space.
And so the 2 offices to the left?
Those two
Those
offices
belong to
are,
the red area,
yeah,
so that will be
red
in
area.
space. So the front one, that front where the mouse is right now would be the reception area. And then the second office will be a private enclosed office for Antonio and his staff.
And both of your spaces require entry through this space? That's the same
No,
entry?
We have separate entries. So my entry will be literally on the side, right by the door, if you come down on the door. Right there is the door entry from my side, and then Corey's space is right in the front by the foyer in the top, there's a door right there.
A little bit up more. Yep, it's outside.
Yeah. It would be nice to have seen a larger site plan. This looks like it's at the end of the building, or not?
No, that is the entire floor plan
It's
from,
like the.
That's the whole building.
It's
That's-
not.
This is Sweet Bee.
that's Sweet Bee, which is everything else. So
It's
yes,
like the side. It's like a single level side.
Right, but
with
this is a
offices
huge
in it.
building, and what we're looking at is a little section of that.
That's all
Yeah.
that I am, that's all that we are, is that small little section, everything else
Yeah,
belongs
the
to
rest is
Cabot.
warehouse.
No, I get it,
Then we
It
have
just,
Spirit, yeah.
something like this should be submitted so we like know where the parking is and how the roads relate to it. Will there be any signage?
That would be up to Redstone. Redstone right now doesn't have any signage. Right now for us, it's the doors that will be signed, and where that direction is. So we still have to get permission from the property management in order to put up signage, but that parking facility in front is strictly all hours.
Yeah, and there are pictures of that as well.
And then
I'd
the
like to
only
see
thing
that.
that's there that's separate is just the parking for the trails, and that's down further.
Because you're in the back of
Mhm.
the building, yeah.
I think that's all I had for questions. Are there any other questions from the board?
No changes planned to the bathrooms?
Nope, there are pictures of them attached, both the men and the women's. They are both set up for the proposed that we have for the influx for roughly 30 to 35. There's 2 in each one. And there would be no changes to these because they're already pre-set up,
It's just modernizing, painting them, cleaning them.
cleaning them while
That's
they're
about it.
painting.
I just noticed that obviously you have able-bodied people as your students, but they don't appear to be ADA accessible. What kind of building permit, Eric, does this require? Who's gonna
It'll go through
review
the
that?
Division of Fire Safety for the
State will
fit
review
out,
that, yeah.
depending on what they need to do specifically with the electrical, plumbing, mechanical. That'll all, because it's considered a public building, it'll all need to go through the Division of Fire Safety for permitting, and local building permits as well. But because it's a public building, we issue the local building permit based off of the review from the division.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any thoughts on, the bathrooms just spurred adding a locker or shower facilities at all?
It is a possibility in the future. It is not something that we're looking at right this second.
Yeah.
Once we kind of know, once we get in, see the space where best it would fit, then we will definitely, it is something in about a year and a half, that we do want to look into having a locker room, or at least there is kind of that hallway that's right in there, kind of walk into the restrooms. Against that wall would be a set of cubbies. Yep, correct, right
And the
there.
reality is that they wouldn't change the wall structure, it'd be like in front
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
it needs to be built in.
So just like wooden crate setups or metal lockers, depending on the width.
Kind of thinking of like a mudroom. when you're dealing
Yeah.
with kids, so kind of the same setup.
So with those lockers, are there plans for shower facilities as well? Because that,
Possibly, we would, like I said, we'd have to look at, I haven't gone in and actually set up yet of what our kind of our layout would be. But it is a possibility that maybe in the future, that room, which is, there's the 2 rooms that are outlined by red, right subset from the bathrooms.
mhm.
Those 2 rooms there, one of them is the security room, which holds all the electrical panels and things like that. The room next to it does have possibility to put a shower room in there that would be a private with lockable door.
Yeah.
There's like a mop sink in there, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So it's a possibility, we would have to
I'm
get.
grateful that you actually know the space.
I worked in there for about 10 years, so.
I appreciate
Oh, great, that's perfect.
Kids don't shower, it's fine.
Eric, what would they need to come back and see us if they wanted to modify the building to add showers in the future?
For
or-
adding showers, no. They would
Okay.
need to go through the building permitting process
Yep.
for the plumbing side, but that wouldn't constitute
Okay.
a change of use.
Okay.
So they would not need to come back before us.
Okay. Great. I think that officially is all I had for questions, unless somebody else says something. I was like, oh, yeah.
So the approval for the conditional use on this one?
Yes,
Would be all that's required from us.
that's correct.
That's the only application we would see.
That's correct. Unless they were looking to potentially expand into additional space or
Right.
construct new, any new building to accommodate any expansion in the future. But yeah, as long as they stay within the footprint that's included in this application, that would constitute the use.
Great. I thank you. Stay close, just in case anybody else has anything they'd like to say that we may ask you to respond to. I forgot to ask Aaron, did you have any questions? We don't see you on the screen.
No, I'm all set.
Okay, thanks.
There he is.
Thanks for checking.
Is there anybody else here that would like to speak on this project? Please come forward.
I'm Dennis Huben, I live just up the hill from this building.
I'm so sorry, your name again?
Dennis Huben,
Dennis. Okay.
do you mind bringing up the satellite picture overhead so I can
Sure.
show just where I live?
Yep.
I'm also here with Diana, my neighbor who lives right next door.
Okay.
Actually, I'm gonna bring up a different one because sometimes it crashes on me.
So overall, this sounds not bad to me, but I do have some concerns about noise. Right now, our backyards look right over this property. It's a very nice backyard. There's forest behind us, between us and the property that we're talking about modifying. And I spend a lot of time in the backyard, a lot of time in the summer with the windows open. And the nice thing about that property is there's traffic there during the day, light traffic. I can hear through my windows in the backyard. I'm a little concerned about stuff now going on in the evenings. I'm hearing a lot of traffic back there. Sounds like it might not be too bad, but I did want to have a discussion about it.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
Trying to make sure I got the right.
So, oh yeah, this is the actual diagram. So we are the properties right up at the top of the hill on the right side there.
These are
Nope, down towards the bottom there.
on
Clifford Street right
Yeah,
there,
okay.
yeah, on the west side of Clifford Street. It sounds like you guys are talking about being on the west side of the building, which seems like it would mitigate a fair amount of
Yep.
noise. And it sounds like people will come and go kind of as a group, like these will be scheduled.
They're technically come
So
in
okay if I
as,
address them directly? I don't know, process.
They're not mic'd right now, and for the purposes of the recording, it might be difficult, but sure.
That'd be fine with me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds like people will be coming periodically in small groups, small amount of traffic. And when we first heard about it, I was concerned that there might be some sort of alcohol involved, any or music. It doesn't sound like that. And music will be relatively quiet.
Yep, so since the subset on that left-hand side there, like I stated, there wouldn't really be much music. It would all be in the building. It's not gonna be outside of the building as well. With music, it wouldn't be, if you've ever been to the Edge or Planet Fitness or anything like that, you can normally tell it's kind of hard to talk over that music because it's in that kind of blaring speaker. Think about 4 or 5 notches down after that. I want to be able to speak to the athletes in the room. When it comes to traffic, all of our classes end on 8 o'clock. We don't have anything that runs past 8. And we don't do classes on Fridays and Saturdays either. So it's only Monday through Thursday and Sunday mornings. And usually Sunday mornings to about 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., just those couple of hours, nothing past. Additionally, most of our athletes that aren't specifically in Winooski or Essex carpool with other parents. So depends on the group of athletes, anywhere from 2 to 4, so that we don't have 4 parents always trying to drop off.
I know these are gonna be, consistent times.
Yep, our age group is 5 to 18.
And are you guys planning on any point that you're gonna be moving outside in the summer for activities?
It depends on the space. We may at times have some of our athletes in that front section there where we have the parking lot, do a 40-yard dash. That takes about 5 minutes. We would have some do, and it's very specific. It would only really be for our football athletes.
Are we talking shouting and whistles?
No.
Overall, it doesn't sound too bad to me. Diane, do you want to come up here and do a specific question? It sounds to me like the noise won't be much of an issue. I also mentioned this to a couple other neighbors, and that was their concern, was noise. We had that terrible experience with cannabis, which is a separate problem with the odor, but.
So the only other thing, so this way at least you guys are aware, we also, because of where we are on the west side of the building, we have corrugated cardboard that pretty much also subsets the noise on the other side, so you guys really will not be, you shouldn't be impacted as much with noise-wise because of how much cardboard is coming through the other side. So like Spirit and Belay is right behind us.
It sounds reasonable. The concerns I had coming to the meeting doesn't sound like it'll be much of a problem.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dennis. I appreciate your testimony as well. And just for the record, I can do a 40-yard dash in 5 minutes.
That's a long time.
Wait, I thought that was good.
And he put it on the record for you.
Is there anybody else that would like to come speak on this project? Anybody online?
We do have one hand raised online here.
Okay.
Steve Plosner, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and speak.
If he's speaking, we're not hearing him.
No, I
There
got
we
you. I hit the wrong button.
Okay.
No, I believe Eric has a list. I couldn't be there in person tonight because I'm away. I do agree that it is a pretty cool concept for down in that area and for what they got planned. I guess my concern as living at the top of the hill at the end of Elm Street, it may fall on more of the developer and the city. Eric was sent a list of our concerns, and just more so with the gym being down there in the age group, there is people gonna walk, there is people that are gonna ride bicycles. Sounds like there's gonna be a 16-year-old driving a car down that street to come down there on his own. Plenty of 18-wheelers going up and down that hill. How are you safely gonna get them down there? There's no ADA accessible from the top of that hill to the bottom of that hill. There's no real liable street lighting along that area for the safety of anybody going down there if it's gonna be in the winter months after hours, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not trying to shoot this project down by no means, but living at the end of that street, we have 18-wheelers all night long. Years ago, when that Act 250 was approved, it was from 7 at night or 7 in the morning to 7 at night. That's kind of fallen away from the loan of the town of Winooski, city of Winooski. One thing I'd like to see added to my list is the city of Winooski is making this a conditional use. This conditional use for a gym is not in that conditional use. It's under recreational and entertainment. What's to stop a bar from going down there after this one is approved under entertainment and recreational? Then I'm concerned on parking. There is some businesses down there that need parking. There should be plenty of parking for them, and that's just another thing on there. The developer should also have, if it all goes through, there should be a sign at the top of the street. I'd say at least once a week, an 18-wheeler pulls down to the project because they don't know whether to go left or right if it's a new driver. And then they're backing up the street and all that. So I'm just, it's just safety concerns is more of the pedestrian and the people getting to that building. The concept of the gym, I'm all for it. But it's an ongoing changing down there that the city approves through conditional use. As we all know, the hemp factory down there flopped, and that was a cluster. I just don't want to see this happen, and I'm concerned about anybody near my house and going up and down that hill. But I do believe Eric does have a list. I don't know if it was going to be read in tonight or just stuffed in a file, but I did want to try to jump online while I had a little bit of time where I am. I think that's it.
All right, thank you, Steve.
So I will say, yes, I do have Mr. Plozer's comments. They will be entered into the record as well as an exhibit for this matter.
Thank you. Anybody on the board have any questions in regards to Steve's testimony?
No.
Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I would love, if I could, that was a lot thrown, I'd love to see just kind of that list so I can call back to it, because I do agree with some of those statements. It's nice to have these stop signs throughout that street to go down, but it is something that we have talked about bringing to Redstone, a sign at the top of that hill to talk about the 18-wheelers going down and possibly putting in a mirrored section so that you can see, because I don't know if we can pull up the satellite view, it's got a very hard S shape going down. We have talked about talking to Redstone, I believe that is in the process as well, of talking to them about putting up some more stuff up there so that we can signage, mirrors, so that we can see whoever is going down, 18-wheelers, plus parents, plus anybody who's up there, can see and understand, look down, look through a mirror and see, okay, I've got a clear passing to be able to go down this S street. I think with the street coming down, like I said, I believe there is 3 stop signs, or 4 stop signs in that entire Elm Street before that S is hit. I'm just reading here so I can look all the way through. Perfect. When it comes to the sidewalks down and some of the things that within the city, I would love to be able to, once we are established, go to the city and say, hey, we can prove that we have X, Y, and Z coming into the space. Could we start to talk about what can we do within the city that you guys could start to put in, whether it's sidewalks, whether it's signage, whether it's more stop signs throughout that. But I would like to, as a business owner going in, work with the city to be able to say, hey, we know that we have 15 kids that walk from Winooski down to our space because they live right up the street. Can we put in possibly, a sidewalk cutting through, because if you didn't mind, Eric, just throwing up that satellite view.
Sorry.
So part of that too comes down that it's not just where our space is. The kids come down for the trails as well.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's not so much just a concern with our facility, it's in fact that they come down to go walk those trails or things like that. School buses we have not seen, I've been there all summer long. There has been no school buses that has been down in that area. The majority of the tractor trailers that come down on the back side, the other side of the building. So more towards their side, it would be. The only tractor trailers that come down on our side, west side, is the Cabot trucks, and again, we have guarantees from Cabot that they are a set hours.
Okay.
So they actually leave at 3:30.
So how would a child walk to the facility?
Can I approach the screen? Just really quickly?
Right now, there's a sidewalk that ends
Yep.
right
Yeah.
about here.
Yeah, so it comes from up here to here, and then it's literally all road.
It's
So if
basically
we
when the
were-
city stops plowing, because where the sidewalk is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. If we were able, like I said, when we were in the space, it is something that I have wanted to propose to the city of a safer route to come down that. Through that little cut with the S, if it was possible to create a sidewalk that goes straight through kind of that grassy tree area, instead of cutting along the entire S route, it seems like a smart idea, either a sidewalk or a pathing, a clear pathing to be able to cut straight through. Down to that and create maybe safer pathing down to the trails, not just to our space, like Gina had mentioned, that is the trail set area. A lot of people do go down there. So I think it's possibly already on the city's radar, but with us going in there, we may be able to push that forward more and be able
Do
to
we know
act
if it's on
as
the
if.
city's radar?
Well, that's not,
I think that's
the
Redstone's
city
issue.
street
Yeah, that would be
ends where
Redstone's
that
thing.
line,
Yeah, it is. So
that's
this,
all private property.
Mhm.
So the city would not be putting a sidewalk on
So
it.
belongs on to Redstone at that point.
So this is
So-
the outline of the property, basically, that's showing there.
Okay, and then the city parking for the trails is all the way down at the end of that warehouse space.
Correct.
Perfect, then yeah, whoever, obviously we would do our due diligence and find out who does control the leading hand on that. But it is something that we have talked about putting into play as we kind of get into the space.
Yeah.
Obviously,
It's
it
something
comes-
that we wanted anyway, especially with me having a kitchen there regardless.
Mhm.
it is
So-
something that we have looked into.
And you did state before that you expect the vast majority of your students to be arriving by car,
Mhm.
correct?
Correct.
So you're not expecting a pedestrian impact?
We are not
In the
expecting
neighborhood.
pedestrian impact.
Okay.
With kind of what I've spoken with the town of Winooski, a lot of this area doesn't have financial backing, as we all know. There are a lot of kids there that end up having to be the parent to their siblings. Their
Mhm.
parents are not home. They're working double, triple shifts. I've spoken with a lot of people within this area about how to work with that, and the biggest thing we would do is go to the schools. So a lot of the athletes in Winooski wouldn't probably be coming to us in-house. We would be going to the middle school or the high school to be able to do clinics, pop-ups. The pro of being right down the street of that is it's not something that we would have to charge for. It's
Yeah.
something that we can work with the town. We're trying to create scholarship programs for these athletes as well, so that we wouldn't really have a huge impact of pedestrians walking down. We would try to keep that with where they're already comfortable, which is the high school and the middle school.
Okay.
So,
Any-
oh, sorry, go ahead. I
No.
was gonna say, Mr. Pleasure has his hand up again, but I will wait for you to recognize him.
We can bring him back?
Okay.
Yeah.
Then, Steve, you can go ahead and unmute yourself again.
Okay, no, like I said, I don't want to harp on it. If this is going to become a public building, I believe per all codes of the state of Vermont, Winooski, there needs to be ADA accessibility to that building, whether it's private or public property. And there was a comment made that school buses don't go down. 2 school buses stop in front of my house every afternoon at 2:30 and 3:30 and drop off almost full buses. And then they head towards Forest Street. So I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to really be on it. I think a lot of this all falls on the developer. And I believe this needs to be some kind of conditional use for this conditional use. And a better site plan showing how the public will be able to access this building. And I mean, I believe the young lady on that talking has a catering business down there.
Yes?
You know, and I'm just looking at the future. Could that expand into a restaurant?
No.
And then all of a sudden, no, I know you're saying no now, but I do development for a living.
We just did that,
I don't want a restaurant.
yeah. We just did that a few months ago, right,
Yep.
with you? Okay. Yeah, there is no possibility of a restaurant there.
Right, and I wasn't included in that meeting. We were never warned of that meeting. Nevertheless, it's just part of this deal being on that end of the street, so. They're just my comments, and we'll go from there.
Okay. We thank you so much, Steve, for joining in.
Yep.
All right, take care.
I would just like to point out, I think what Steve is mentioning is that these school buses go down and don't move down the S. If I am incorrect, I would love for him to speak back up, but I'm believing that those school buses do not travel down to our actual building. They stop at the top of the road, which is still a city road, and then continue on to Forest Street, as Mr. Pluser had said.
Okay.
Are any of the entrances to the building ramped?
The entrance to the kitchen is ramped.
And if you could.
Could
So
someone
we-
get to this space, not through the kitchen though?
If this right here, is it okay if I approach?
Yes.
So we have looked at the possibility, I'll step onto this side, but the right here, this set here, possibly putting in a ramp, we would need for here and to look at construction and see if it's something we could set in, but it is something we have looked at, because I know that there isn't a super easily accessible one. The set right here is easy enough to build in just a very small ramp, but we are looking at possibly putting that in right here.
What runs along the building right now? It looks like an overhang. What runs from the foundation?
It's just, it's actually just the roof, the part of the roof of where they keep the condenser, where
Oh, no, I mean,
Is there
on the
a-
ground.
is there
There's nothing.
Concrete?
Is it concrete or
It's
gravel?
concrete on the top landing, and then it's strictly grass all underneath it.
It's just foundation.
Okay, grass right up to the foundation.
Nothing,
Basically
yep,
just a
Okay.
pad right here in front of the door.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
And then
Concrete.
to the left of that side of the building is where the ramp is on the other side.
okay. Eric, is that an issue, ADA compliance and accessibility in this case?
That's a good question. That would be something that the state would address, though, with their, when they do their building permitting.
Okay.
They would address any accessibility or make sure that the doors are appropriately designed with panic hardware, with activation, if necessary, depending on, because it will be a public space, that would be covered by the state through the building permit process.
Okay. And I'm assuming that the response, and this is just me speaking, I don't have my big book here, but I'm assuming that the responsibility of ADA compliance would fall on the shoulders of Redstone and not individual businesses. Is that
It would
true?
be the property owner, yeah.
Okay, correct. Yeah. So that's something to consider.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments about this project?
No.
No? Hearing none, seeing none. Aaron, are you okay?
Yep, still good.
Okay. We thank you so much for being here. And again, we hope to be in deliberative session tonight to have an answer hopefully in the next 14 days. All right,
Thank you.
thanks so much.
Real quick, before they leave,
Oh, yes.
I have the exhibit list for this property, for this project. Exhibits A through K. These will be included in the record, as well as Mr. Plozer's comments will be added to this list also. I have handwritten that in. That will be formally added to the record that is recorded in the city's land records, along with all the rest of the information.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care. And next on our agenda, the final substantive item on our agenda is a public hearing on final plans for a PUD at 205 West Allen Street as we bring
And we can bring
Elsie back.
Elsie back in, and so I'll just do a quick intro here. This is a project that you've seen several times before. This is a planned unit development for 205 West Allen Street. It came before you back in November of 2022 as a sketch plan, then back in June of this year as a preliminary plan, and now it's before you tonight as a final plan. I will note that in addition to the comments that were provided in the findings and decision from that June meeting, the applicant is requesting an additional waiver to the side yard setback for the western property boundary. This is based on some comments from the Winooski Fire Department for the access driveway to make sure they have enough room to enter the property as necessary. So the applicant has pushed the western building closer, or is proposing to push it closer to the property boundary, which would necessitate the need for an additional waiver to that side yard setback. So Greg Dixon, representing the applicant here tonight. So Greg, I'll let you take it from there.
Hello.
Yes. Do you need me to raise my hand or? I've
So,
already been spoken?
yes, please affirm that
I
everything.
affirm.
Okay, thank you. Greg, so I was not here for the June meeting, so I only had to could only read minutes and then read
Yeah.
comments based on this plan. So I'm going to defer to the board, who was mostly here back in June, I hope.
So I can give a little more synopsis.
Yes.
Kind of what has changed. So yeah, we reached out to the fire department. Originally we had about, I think it was a 12-foot road in between the buildings, along with maybe about a 2-foot shoulder on each side. It was about 14 to 15 feet between the buildings. This is the existing building, 205, and the new proposed one to the west. After conversations with the fire department, they decided that they needed a 20-foot free space in between the buildings so that they could drive the new fire truck back in here. We had a lot of back and forth on this. I did not think it was necessary, but in the eyes of safety, we worked with the fire department to do this. The only other option was to sprinkle each one of these residential homes, which is an idea, but there's a lot of upkeep with that for a residential person to take on, and the intent with these buildings is to sell them as condo residential homes. So having a full industrial sprinkler system in a residential home is not ideal. So the reason I am asking for the additional waiver, you can see that western building has moved about 4.5 feet to the west in order to make up the additional space. We will not be paving that whole space. Originally, the fire department did want that, but I pointed out to them that if you pave a 20-foot space, you're just inviting people to park along the side of it, which kind of defeats the purpose of getting a fire truck through there. So we will be strengthening that 5-foot shoulder, but it will be covered in 4 to 6 inches of topsoil seeded, and will be grass. The 15-foot road was a compromise that the fire department was willing to take on. Besides that change, really nothing's changed on this project besides adding additional detail even from the sketch plan that we originally came into you with. It's still a 3-unit PUD. All the units will be condoized and be sold. The intent is to sell them separately, and they would sort of own the property as an association. I think there were quite a few or maybe about 6 or 7 comments that the board had. I'd be happy to address those all together, but I also wrote a 5-page document, which I don't know if you all read, but it's a little bit piggybacks on what I originally wrote for preliminary, and then also answers some of those questions. So maybe I could just answer additional questions if the board has any.
We always read everything.
I'm sure. I do produce a lot of paper. I'm very good at that. So that is the request for additional waiver. It was sort of a last second thing. I think I did it in about an hour and a half before I had to leave on vacation. So I think it's all there. Eric has told me it is. So besides that, nothing much else has changed from preliminary. The owners did speak to the neighbor about the fence. We did put a detail of a fence in there. I believe they were going to just do a wooden privacy fence about 6 feet tall. It's very similar to what we did.
And that would surround the entire, all 3 sides of the
Yeah,
property?
you can see it on the site plan.
Okay.
It won't go out in front like the current one does if you've ever walked down there on West Allen Street. Right now, actually, the fence is actually on city property, and so we will be removing that. But as you can see, it'll tie in to the existing building at 205 on the east side. It's actually more of like a screened-in porch right there. And then it will tie into the southwest corner of the new property on the west side. So kind of enclosing that whole area for them to use, very similar to all the other properties on West Allen Street.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah.
just for clarity, Eric, the 2 variances that are there 2 variances for 2 setback,
There'll be
Waivers.
3 variants.
2 waivers rather?
So there was a waiver, variance, waiver. There was a waiver granted to the front yard setback to allow the existing building to remain.
Okay.
There was a waiver requested and granted to the rear yard setback to be able to push the northerly building closer to the property boundary. So this would be a 3rd waiver being requested for the western property boundary.
Now, I would also point out that that waiver request to the west is a PUD setback waiver. We still meet the waiver of this zoning. The zoning for this property is 10 feet. We're still leaving 10.5 feet. So I know it's because it's a PUD, it has the additional 5 feet all around. You kind of pick the biggest one and make it consistent. So I just wanted to point that out as well. It is consistent with the neighborhood, just not consistent in the PUD.
I assume you pushed the driveway close to the existing, so you had enough room to turn into the westernmost building? Do you have any concern about, I see that you put bollards, do you have any concern about the closeness of that driveway to the existing building?
I mean, that's why we put the bollards that close. There is, if you were to go out there today, there's about a 18-inch concrete sort of sill that runs along that existing building. That'll stay in place. It is a 15-foot wide road, which for a residential driveway is quite substantial. I think 90% of the cars that come back in here are gonna be fine. You might have some issues with larger vans, or if like a delivery driver decides they want to be real lazy and drive into this place. I also put it there for if the fire truck ever does come. But I do think regular cars, sedans, trucks, smaller SUVs are gonna be fine. And again, I'd push the idea that these properties will be sold as separate units, and the people who are buying them will kind of see the closeness of the site and understand the site, and I think that will also push sort of the vehicles that they end up buying.
I just wonder if it'd be possible to center it between those two buildings and strengthen both sides.
Yeah, I don't see why that would be a problem. Like I said, I think I did this in about an hour and a half. So I was trying to keep the curb cut around the same spot that I showed it originally, so it was less of a change brought before you all. But yeah, we can definitely put that in the middle and then have 2.5 feet on either side.
And what is the strengthening? Is it
It would be the
block,
same.
like geo block?
It would be the same subbase as the road, just instead of having the 3.5 inches of pavement, it would have 4 to 5 inches of
So
topsoil.
the truck won't sink when it
Yeah.
drives on that?
Yeah.
How wide is the truck?
So, it's Winooski's new truck that they bought for using, for the tall buildings, the 7-story buildings. I had a discussion with the fire department that I thought that was an unlikely truck to use on this property, but that's not here nor there. So the truck is not that wide, because obviously a 20-foot wide vehicle could not drive down a state road. So the truck itself, I think, is about 8.5 feet. What is 20 feet wide is the stabilizers for the truck. So the truck drives in, they shoot out their stabilizers to put up the giant ladder to get to the top of this. So
These are 2-story structures, right? Okay.
I think you're hitting on some of the same conversation points I had with the fire department, how I thought this was a little bit of overkill.
So I don't want to speak for the fire department, but when the new truck arrives, we will be disposing of the existing ladder truck. So that'll be our only ladder
Yeah,
vehicle.
and I'm
So-
not dismissing the fire department's comments at all. It's
Yeah,
just-
no, I was.
No, I'm just providing some additional
Yeah.
context, is so that if they were to need to get onto the site to get above the structure, it's the only vehicle they'll have. So they'll need to be able to site it appropriately to make sure that it doesn't get damaged in the process.
Yeah.
And clearly we're not dismissing them either. I pushed back, just trying to understand the actual procedure they would use to fight a fire on this, but at the end of the day, we're happy to keep safety in mind, and we are requesting the additional waiver for that exact point, but that is what we're sort of bringing into you. I will bring up one other thing, because I was upset I didn't say it last time. I know you had mentioned that we could just reduce the size of the buildings and maybe get less waivers. The buildings are the size so that they're consistent. We thought consistency was crucial in a co-ownership environment. If you have 2 buildings that are about 2,000 square feet, I think these are closer to about 1,500 square feet, and then you have one building that's 1,000 square feet, the ownership conversation becomes a little bit more onerous. And so our attempt to keep all the buildings consistently about the same size was part of that, and I was kind of kicking myself I didn't mention that last time. It is in my long list of information here, but I wanted to sort of bring it up to the board as well.
Are they mirror images of each other? I think we asked this last time. Are they the same
Yep.
footprint?
They are the same building, the same footprint. I think Eric's probably bringing up the architectural renderings
Yeah, that's only one set of.
Mhm.
So it's a really high foundation.
For, there is no foundation, these will be slab on grades.
So is it, it's a step up to that porch and then a step into the building?
And then obviously the driveways will meet the pavement, so you can drive on, there'll probably be a little lift there, just to keep water out of it. We also had a discussion about front door entrance. We took a look at it, it was kind of difficult to put a front door on the space, on the back building. The board had asked us to look into putting a door facing the street. That door would be blocked by the existing building anyways, but we did look into it. I had a lot of concerns because we can't really put a overhang over it to keep water off of it. I was worried you'd sort of just have a door that would take on a lot of rain and possibly go into the building. I think there's another list of about 5 other items that just were concerning to us. Not to mention that, I mean, I have a garage and that's pretty much 95% of how I enter and exit my house is through my garage. And these buildings will have doors into the garage, into the building. So those will also act as kind of front doors. I don't really suspect the back building will use the front door all that often, and actually the front one too.
So is the only other door to that back building off of the porch to the right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the only other one is off the porch to the left of the left building? Or to the bottom of the left
So the
building?
front 2 buildings have front doors that face West Allen Street.
Okay.
There's an existing one there, and then there'll be a new one there. It's just that back building will not have one that faces West Allen Street, but it does face to the east. Like I said,
And is it a new fence on the east side as well?
we're still in coordination with that neighbor. The fence that is there right now is so old, nobody really knows who owns it. It's on her property, but they've been interested in working with us to just have sort of one fence that'll be on our property.
So that proposed fence is taking into consideration her concerns about her landscaping in the back?
Yeah, I think her concerns were actually mitigated because she was worried about her tiger lilies, which I think are kind of right in front of her garage, and those are not on our property, so they would stay.
Aaron, did you have any questions?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I only heard the beginning, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments from the board?
I just want to say thanks to Greg, because it looks like you put a lot of work in to
Yeah.
responding to the comments, and appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a year now, right? Almost?
November we came in for sketch, and then we took 6 months off to actually do a lot of this stuff. The boundary survey took a little while, and then I think, as Eric said, we came in June. And then we had a combination of me on vacation and other stuff that I couldn't sit in September, so.
Yeah.
Back here in October.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, stay close. We'll invite anybody else who wants to speak to please come up.
Thank you.
Did you want to speak on this? No? Okay, is there anybody online?
We do have Nathaniel Eisen online. Mr. Eisen, if you want to say anything, please use the raise hand feature or the chat, or otherwise you can just stay put. Not seeing either.
No response?
Raise
Okay.
hand or chat.
I thank you, Greg, and unless there's anything else you wanted to follow up with, I think we're okay. We'll go into deliberative session later on tonight.
So for the for this matter, I'll be providing Mr. Dixon with the exhibit list. This will include exhibits A through N. These will also be included in the written record for this matter, and included in with the other information on the decision. So great, there's the exhibits for you.
Thank you, take care. And in keeping with procedure from earlier, I will entertain a motion to close the hearings for tonight's meeting.
I so move. I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of closing the hearings for tonight, please raise your hands or say aye.
Aye.
I'm assuming Aaron agrees as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
I did raise my hand. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
That's
still
all right,
sharing my
we
screen.
couldn't
There
see your
we go.
video there. Okay, so that carries unanimously. The hearings for tonight are closed. Up next on our agenda, if Eric is ready, city updates.
I don't have any specific updates for you all unless there's anything you have questions about that I can update you on.
St. Stephen's Church
Mm.
appeals?
Still in court, so nothing new to report on that matter.
Dunkin' Donuts in front of the high school.
So actually, that did go through the environmental court. The court did rule that, so the city denied that application due to traffic concerns. That was appealed to you all. You also denied that application due to similar concerns. That was appealed to the environmental court. The environmental court rejected the applicant's traffic impact study based on some data that they basically said was not accurate. They were showing a condition where Norman Street would be two ways rather than the current one-way situation, and there's not an expectation that it would go to two ways. So basically the court said we're not accepting your argument and denied their appeal as well. And it has that was not appealed any further. So that project is not moving forward. They would have to reapply and start the whole thing over again.
Okay. I think that's,
Any updates on any of the hotel projects?
Yeah, so lot 7D behind CCV, there has been some activity going on there. They did receive a zoning permit to remove, there's some soils, some contaminated soils. They did receive a zoning permit to remove the soils and also to do some sheet piling, basically taking down the existing wall that's there, the retaining wall, and putting in some more permanent sheet piles. So that work is in progress now. They've also done some utility relocation. The city council did review updated design documents for that project that were approved, and so next steps are to, at least from my perspective, I'm not involved in the day-to-day discussions with the design teams, but they would need to apply to receive a zoning permit, which would also require an amendment to the Act 250 permit for downtown. So that is, I believe, their next steps. So it is still moving forward on that particular hotel. The hotel on Lot 9, we are still in court with the owner of that property on. So nothing new to report there. And the hotel on East Allen Street there's no movement. Actually, really hasn't been any movement since you all saw that project 3.5, 4 years ago now. So I have to look at our regulations to see if there is an expiration on that based on the decision that you all issued, but I'm not sure that there formally is. So it's kind of hanging out in limbo at this point.
Is lot 9 the one right next to the Champlain Mill?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
okay.
Yep. Yep.
That is that in the form-based code, or would
That is in the downtown core
Okay.
zoning as well. So that would be reviewed by city council for designs, including amendment to the Act 250 permit. The challenge with that project is parking. There's the city's existing garage. Technically, we don't have any available parking to provide. It's all either under current contracts or basically it's all contracted. So on paper, we have no available parking. So
that was the problem with the other one, right?
Yeah, well, ish. They're building a parking garage to go with it.
Oh, that's the one I'm talking about.
So
is that in the downtown core? The
seven-
CCV one.
the CCV one is in the downtown core, yes. So that is including a new parking garage to go
Right.
with it to address the parking
That's how they're
issues.
solving their problem. Yeah.
Correct.
Is that the outer limit of the downtown
It
core?
is, yes,
Okay.
yes. Yep, basically the properties on the east side of Abnaki Way up to CCV are the downtown core to the Rotary.
the Mansion Street project, or Mansion project.
Yes, so there's no current application for that project. So if they want to do anything there, they need to resubmit under our existing regulations.
Okay. All right, thank you, Eric, and bring it back to you for the next agenda item, which is other business.
So yeah, so for other business, the only thing that I would add is our next meeting, if we do need one, would be November 16th, the third Thursday in November. Tomorrow is the deadline for applications for that meeting. I have not had any conversations about anybody needing to get on that agenda, so potentially we will not need a November meeting unless you all have something you want to meet about. Otherwise, I would intend to cancel that meeting. Looking ahead, the December meeting we may need to postpone, depending on people's schedules. That meeting would be held on December 21st, so I don't know if folks will be traveling or taking time off, but just something to keep in mind. That is currently the date, that's the third Thursday for that meeting. So if you don't anticipate that you'll be available, then please let me know so I can plan accordingly for anybody that is potentially submitting an application.
Okay.
I don't need to know that right now. You can tell me when you have a chance. And I'll send out an email to remind folks of that as well.
Very good. So our last agenda item is to adjourn. So anybody want to make a motion to adjourn for the evening?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
And it's been moved and seconded, so we will vote now to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. That carries unanimously.
All right.